Hey everyone, welcome to April 2018. I'm about 18 days late for this video, but I got around to it in the end. This is my Q1 progress report. I've got a couple of things that I want to talk about since the Q1 sort of like goals and progress plan that I laid out. It's going to be quite a long one, I feel. I'm going to leave some timestamps in the description below if there's anything that you specifically care about. Other than that, there's no need really for you to watch this video. This is just me putting it out there on the internet for myself to keep myself accountable, because I find that works with my goals. If you haven't seen anything like this before, this is what basically this is. Every 3 months I make a video like this, which is just a sort of a report that details sort of like the progress that I've made towards my goals over those 3 months. So in Q1, which was in January, I talked about a certain amount of goals I wanted to accomplish each quarter throughout the year, and this video I'm going to be breaking down specifically what progress I've made on those goals, and also what went right, what went wrong. You know, trying to, like I said before in the previous video, I just want to keep everything open. I don't want to try and like sugarcoat anything. I want to say the failures, the stuff that I learned, and then also what's going to be happening in this quarter, Q2, and how I'm preparing myself for Q3. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into this. So what's happened since the Q1 video? Well, a few things have happened, and I will be talking about the progress made with each of those individual goals. Before I do that, there's two things I want to discuss. Number one is that in February I applied to the Adobe Creative Residency. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a program that Adobe do every single year where they take, I think it's like 6 to 8 creative people from either the United States, Canada or Germany, and this year it came to the UK. They will take one of those individuals who will then be able to focus on their own project, whatever it is that they want to do creative wise, and they will fund sort of like you for a whole year. They'll pay your rent, your bills, so you don't have to worry about a full-time job or freelancing or anything of that nature. They'll either cover, if I can speak properly, they will also cover other aspects such as your travel or in your accommodation, maybe a few bits of gear or something like that here and there. It's sort of like a creative person's dream, really. You also get a salary, so you get paid to basically work on a project that you like. And so this was an opportunity that I've been waiting for it to come to the UK for many years. It did, and I applied. They still have not picked who the winners are, so I'll get onto that in a second. But my project that I submitted was Connecting the Dots podcast, which many of you know is sort of a podcast basically speaking to successful people who are creatives or creative entrepreneurs, and sort of highlighting their past, their career, looking back and connecting those dots, but looking at it through the hard work and the negatives and the struggles that then took them to where they are now. Because what I found when I looked at loads of interviews of successful people, whether that be in magazines, online interviews, podcasts, videos, whatever it may be, it always came from glorifying this person or putting them on a pedestal, or only talking about the success, and didn't really talk much about sort of like the hard work and the time and the patience that goes into those sort of things. And so I really wanted to focus on that, because I felt like that would help humanize these people a little bit, and allow people at home who may struggle with anxiety or depression or anything like that, where they feel like they can't do those things because these people never had it when they probably did, and by them having to discuss those sort of the struggles that they had and how they overcome them may help the people who are struggling with that. And so that was sort of like the whole concept of Connecting the Dots podcast, and I wanted to use my project for that full year to focus on that, and then also a video component of it, which would just be a 5 to 9 minute sort of like documentary sort of series piece that just sort of highlights them as a person, highlighting a couple of those stories that they have, showing how they work, just sort of like a little bit of a general brief introduction to those individual people. I have a whole Behance project down in the description below if you want to go ahead and read it. There's also a video there just talking a little bit about me. This was what I submitted to Adobe with a bunch of other little documents that aren't public. And hopefully I get it. I'm not holding my breath, and this is why, because after I submitted this in February, I got into this mindset of it would be great to be an Adobe Creative Resident. I think that I would be a perfect fit for it. I know that I can do a lot of the things that are required of me in that time. But what I realized was that if I want to become a full-time content creator, primarily on YouTube, I'm gonna have to just do it myself. I cannot sort of be in a position where I am hoping, keeping my fingers crossed, that I'm picked by a company to pay for my bills for the next year. It was like, it would be great if it happens. You know, I definitely won't turn it down. And I would say if you're in that sort of similar situation where you want to do something like that, or anything in fact, it comes from action. And for me, what I realized was I just have to I have to have action. I can't keep pondering. I can't be waiting for the perfect situation to arise, or for me to be in a position where I have money where I can just go, oh, I can take off the next sort of however long and just, you know, live comfortably and just pursue whatever it is I want to do, or I get a sponsorship, or someone invests. I like ridiculous things. I don't want to wait for anything like that. All I know is that rather than waiting for something happening like that where I get the time or the energy or the money to be able to pursue these things, I just need to do it. And that will take me on to my second point, which is that I quit my full-time job. Basically, I worked there for 6 months. I saved up as much money as I possibly could. I lived very, very minimal. I tried not to spend any money. I didn't go out on the weekends. I just sort of like really kept it basic, so that I could have enough money to pay for the next year's rent, which I now have. And so this next year is sort of like my runway now, to be able to get myself into a position where I can be a full-time content creator, with sort of like having like at least minimum wage is what I'm hoping. You know, I'm not holding my breath for anything insane. I just want to be able to do this full time because it makes me happier. I don't want to be stuck in any day job doing sort of like the similar tasks over and over again. What I want to be able to do is this. And so over the next year, you're going to be getting a lot more content from me, which is one of the things I'm going to talk about with the Q1 progress report. But this was sort of like a big risk where I sort of have jumped out into the unknown. I don't know if this is going to work, if this is going to fail, if this is going to set me back by like 3 years in my career. I don't know. But I had to do it because if I didn't, I would regret it. And I feel like it was something that was a long time coming. I just had to do it. For me, I had always sort of been a content creator on like YouTube. You know, since I was 12 years old, I've been making YouTube videos. And so when I was 16, 17, 18 and I was at school, I never needed to have a weekend job to make money because YouTube was funding all of that with my gaming channel. And then when I went to sixth form and then also university, the money was paid as well by YouTube. It was just sitting in the background. I wasn't making any videos, but I was still getting paid for it. And this was sort of like my fun time job. And then I had to leave university and get a real job. And then I realized just how good being a content creator actually is. And so I had never had a full-time job before that point. So I left my job because it became quite repetitive, and I found that I had a lot of talents and knowledge and experience that was being incredibly underused in a lot of ways. And I felt like I could do something for myself with this YouTube channel and also my gaming YouTube channel. And that's why I sort of took the leap. And that's why it sort of leads back to like sort of like the Adobe Creative Residency, where I'm not going to wait for something external to happen that then allows me to create or do what it is that I want to do to have the life that I want to live. You know, it comes from visualizing what is that sort of like that perfect life, that goal that you want to have, and then breaking that down into the goals, like these sub goals, and then literally just working your way back to where you are now. So you say, well, okay, what are the steps that need to be taken to get me there? And then it's as simple as doing that. You know, you just have to make sure that every action that you do reflects where you want to be with that end goal. And so, for example, let's just use me. I wanted to be creating YouTube videos full time, maybe podcasts, whatever it may be. And so how do I do that? Well, obviously I can't leave my house and do this full time if I don't have money to pay rent. So, okay, just make sure that you're not eating expensive food. You're living off of beans and rice and chicken and just as little as possible. You're not buying clothes. You're selling stuff that's unneeded in your house, unused camera gear, you know, that sort of stuff. Just trying to find ways to build up the money and not spending, not going out and drinking at pubs or going to restaurants. Little things like this, they all add up. And if every single one of your actions maps to your ambition, eventually you'll then be in a position where you can do something about it. So for me, by saving all of that money, I then had enough money for this next year to be able to have my rent paid, food, all of that sort of stuff. So I'm not going to go homeless or anything in this next year. I now have given myself this runway in which I'm now sort of a full-time content creator, but not really a full-time forever, because obviously if I don't do what needs to be done by the end of the runway, I'm going to crash. Hopefully, because I'm here, I've got this actual motivation, I'm actually going to take off by the end of the runway. At least I hope so. Otherwise, I'll then go back to getting another full-time job and trying to progress sort of what to do by that point. But as I say, if every single one of your actions is mapping against your ambition, then I'm obviously going to be flying by the end of this year, because every single day I'm working on getting to the point of being a full-time content creator. So what I would say is, for you, maybe think about your life. What is it that you want to do in, say, a 5-year window? Even, it doesn't have to be that long, it could be 2 years. What it is that you want to do as your dream goal, or it could be that you want to, I don't know, be exercising and getting fit. Maybe it's something like that and it's not career focused. Take every single action as a way that will get you one step closer there. That's basically what I'm going to say about all of this. These were sort of like the two things that happened for me in the last 3 months. Quite big, I imagine. You know, if I was to get the Adobe Creative Residency, I would be over the moon. But like I say, I'm not going to wait for something like that to happen, because if it didn't happen, what am I going to do? Wait till the next year and then apply again and maybe not get? No. I need to do action. I need to do what is right for me to just get me where I need to go. And so hopefully that's something you take away for yourself, is what is it that you can do to help your current situation, to get you into a place where you're happy with your life. Now, moving on to the progress since Q1. Boom! These are the 2 books that I said that I was going to read. My first point was, I will easily read Crush It and Crushing It by the 31st of March 2018. I read Crush It within a couple of weeks. I read it every single morning on the train to and from work. I think that this is a fantastic book, but I didn't get much value out of it, simply because I have religiously consumed Gary Vaynerchuk's content over the past 3 years, and I've implemented a lot of his practical advice to the point where I know a lot of it. And so this was sort of like just going, it was like homework basically, it was like revising. I was just going over stuff that I already knew. The biggest thing that I took away from this book was it just sort of showed to me how much Gary is sort of on the ball when it comes to building businesses and brands sort of on the internet. This came out in 2009, and basically everything that he said in this book, he predicted. He knew where social media was going, he knew where the internet was going, and I think if you're someone who doesn't know much about that this is a perfect way to start. It's also a great way to get a kick up the arse if you need motivating to go ahead and just do stuff. I really liked it. And then we also have Crushing It, which is sort of like the continuation of Crush It. Because this is the book for the people who read that and then went and did something about it, their stories are in this book, and you can sort of hear about how they sort of have progressed in their journey. And it also has Gary's 2018 sort of tips and where we are on the platforms at the moment. I have not finished the book. This is something that I guess you could say is a failure. I feel it seems like quite a strong word, but I have not finished it in time. I got very distracted with a lot of other stuff, and so I don't know, I'm near the end. I've got about this much left to go, so not a great deal, and then I'm eventually going to be moving on to the 4-hour work week. But one of the greatest things that happened in Q1 was that I got to actually meet Gary Vaynerchuk. So during that time when the book was releasing, he came to London and was doing a release of a special limited edition of his shoe that he has alongside the book. And I went there, I met Gary, I ended up being in Daily V, I saw D-Rock, I met so many other great hustlers and motivating people who were also working really hard in London, which was really great for me. I really liked actually seeing other people who had a very similar mindset. And so yeah, it was a great day. I was very pumped from it. That is something that also helped me just realize that I've got to quit my job, because when I spoke to Gary and sort of just mentioned what it is that I want to do with sort of like my life, what I'd done in the past and how I sort of like fell into a bit of a dip in when I had a full-time job, when I told him that, he just sort of like, he basically grabbed my hand and was just like listening to me speak. And then when I was like, oh, I played the safe thing, you know, after university I went ahead and I went and got a job, he just was like holding my hand and he was like smiling, and he did the very, very small thing I noticed, which is when I said I had a full-time job, he was like this. Just the slightest little nod. I don't even know if you could see it there, but he did the slightest little nod. And I was just like, damn. Okay, Gary, like, basically Gary is my god. And so when he did that, I was just like, okay, yeah, he's right. He knows that I shouldn't be playing it safe. I'm still very young. I can take these risks. You know, if you're someone who's like 35, you have children, you may have a wife or a husband or whatever it may be in your life that is sort of like keeping you restrained into a full-time job, you are, you know, a lot more harder to be able to take that risk, whereas I'm not. I can take those risks now. And basically he just sort of gave me that little bit of a boost. Some of the things that he said to just try, and so that's why I ended up quitting my job. And that's sort of all of the book things that I've got for Q1. So the next thing on the list was I will easily upload 13 videos by the 31st of March 2018. I did 12, so I was one under. 2 of them were live stream and 2 of them were clips being taken from the longer form content. So I didn't hit that target. You know, I wanted to be open. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. I didn't hit the goals that I wanted to do. The Adobe Creative Residency, when I was applying to that, really took off the momentum of me doing weekly videos, and I never really got back onto that horse. You know, I was on a roll with that. But now with leaving my job to do this full time, I think that I'm going to be able to now Q2's 13 videos and more. I'm probably going to be getting like 2 videos out a week. So doing that as well as the gaming channel, I'm going to be getting out a lot of videos on both. So I'm sort of making up for it now. And then the next thing was I will easily take at least 13 photos by the 31st of March 2018. I did take 13 images over the past 3 months. You're seeing them on screen right now. There was one week where I completely forgot and just forgot to take a photo purposely for this project. However, I did take a photo earlier in that week on my iPhone, which I'll now be using as that photo for that week. Something that I've noticed so far with Project 52 is that I'm not putting it in a priority position. I'm really not trying to go out and take the photos and making them good, which I used to do with Project 365. It was a daily thing that I had to take a great photo. Whereas with this, it seems like I'm leaving it to the Sunday in sort of like the last couple of hours of that week and then going, oh crap, I didn't take a photo this week, and then trying to find one and the quality's not that good. And so going forwards, I'm gonna actually try and make more of an effort to try and get some really good high quality photos that are purposeful because I want to improve, and the only way I'm going to improve is if I actually try and make these photos better, rather than just taking a photo really late on a Sunday of like a random thing in my house. The next thing is I said that I will easily launch season 1 of Connecting the Dots by March 31st, and this, out of all of my different things, is probably my biggest failure in a lot of different ways. I only managed to get 3 interviews sort of recorded. One of them didn't really come out that great, and my friend also said like, oh, maybe we'll retry it, but the other 2 came out really well, which is with my friend Mr. Cha. He is sort of like the happiest guy that I know. He lives gratitude basically, and he is a great music producer, and so we had like an hour-and-a-half conversation about mentality and how gratitude can help you with your happiness as a person, as well as how it can help your creative work. That was great. We also had another podcast that I did with my friend Jaden, who goes by the name Atomic Monkey Pro. He's done some crazy and good animations for big YouTubers like the Beijing Canadian. I think his video got past like 200 million views, which is insane. And we just sort of discussed everything about him and his career when it comes to animation, photo, video, the internet, all of that sort of stuff, and that was a great interview. But then after that, it just became very hard to be able to create the 13, I think it was, episodes that I wanted to have for that season 1, simply because I really underestimated how much time and effort goes into creating a successful podcast. Being able to find the guests, being able to schedule them, because I was basically only really free on a Saturday morning for a couple of hours, and trying to get myself as well as my guests free on that block of time was really hard to do on a weekly basis. And so a lot of them fell through, and we've delayed them, and I will eventually get around to them now that I'm no longer have a full-time job. I can actually, you know, get around to doing these things, and so the podcast is going to be taken care of. I feel like there is a part of me that doesn't want to do the podcast anymore, simply because I really don't like editing sort of audio when it's like 2 hours long, and I've got to go through that. Well, I've got to record an intro and outro, I've got to edit that in, I've then got to go through this 2-hour period of just me and my voice and talking to someone else, and it's like, it's so boring for me. I'm a very visual person, and so having to do that and go through and cut everything up, and then go through and listen again to make sure that it's interesting to listen through and cutting out, it's just too much. I'm boring myself talking about it. And so the podcast, I don't know, maybe I'll look into another ways of doing it. Maybe I can get someone else, pay someone else to edit it. That might be a way around it. But I'm not a big fan. There is an introduction episode and the episode with Brinsley already live over on iTunes. The link is in the description if you want to go and listen to that. But that's a very soft launch. I'm not going to be doing the big launch until all of the other episodes are recorded. I mean, there were some things that happened that have made good progress on it. I managed to get all of the graphics done. I managed to get it up on iTunes, and I also managed to create some pretty awesome music. I bought some great intro music that I'm really happy with. And that's sort of everything really that comes with the podcast. It was very difficult to be able to find that time to be able to really make the podcast something that I wanted it to do. I feel like I'm going to still continue to make some more episodes for it, because there are some people I've already promised and some people who have asked to come on, and I feel guilty if I didn't follow through with that. So hopefully by the end of Q2 something would have happened where I've managed to get all of the podcasts up and out, but primarily this YouTube channel is what I'm focused on at the minute. So the biggest thing that I've achieved over the last few months during this Q1 period is I will easily hit 50 views a day on this Jamie Whiffen YouTube channel by the 31st of March 2018, and I smashed it. I really went over 50 views per day, where I averaged roughly 324 views per day, which is so much higher than I initially expected. You know, to give this context, I wanted to hit 100 views a day by the end of Q2, which is June. My Q3 goal is to hit 500 views a day, which we're already so much more closer to hitting. You know, I want to bring this forward now, and I want to hit 500 views a day by the end of Q2. So I've got a couple of months now to be able to get that 324 views up to 500. I feel like I can do that. I feel like it's a pretty good goal. I feel pretty confident I can hit it. I'm gonna go for it. You know, we currently average 9,000 views a month, and yeah, by the end of June I want to be reaching 15,500 a month. So quite a big jump there. But I think it's possible, and I'm gonna try and do it. So that's it. Thank you for watching this video. It's been very, very long. My throat hurts. I'm fed up of talking. But that's sort of my Q1 progress report. Hopefully we can do another good bit of progress in Q2. Thank you if you watched this far into the video. I know it's been very long, a lot of me talking, not very visual. But if you did, be sure to comment down the word crushing it. If you comment the word crushing it, I know that you made it to the end of this video, and I'll pin your comment. So there you go, that's your reward for watching up this far. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to tell me your goals for Q2. And yeah, let's get into this. Let's go ahead and I guess crush it.